guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Stewart Codes. Please make sure you hit the like button, make sure you share, make sure you also subscribe to this channel, and make sure you click the notification bell icon so you'll be able to get the latest of my videos. So today we are going to be talking about casting in Python. So casting in Python. So what is casting? So basically in programming, casting refers to a process of converting one value from one value of a data type to another value. It is actually very necessary to do this when you try to perform some operations or some assignments involving different kind of data types. So casting basically helps you to explicitly specify the desired type of the value you want from one other value. So there are two types of casting. There's an implicit casting, which is quite automatic. You don't need to perform any operations on it. You just once you run it, once you do one or two functions with it, it automatically just helps you to cast that variable to another. There's also the manual type of casting, which we have to use a particular function constructor that you have to call, then passing the particular value into it as a variable. Then it helps you to cast it to the data type that you need. So let's code. So for implicit, so I'm just going to cite some examples of what you can actually find. So let's assume we have value x equals to 3 and we have value y equals to 1.5. So I'm going to print this, type of x. Don't forget the type is to help me I want to know the data type of my value x. I'm also going to just copy and paste, printing the type of y and the sum. So I want to sum them up. So sum equals x plus y, and I'm going to print out the type of sum. So I'm going to print out the type of sum and also print out the result. So I'm going to just say print my result. So x is 3. I've established what these values are already. So this should be a type of integer, which is whole numbers. This is going to be a type of float values, which is decimal point. Now I'm going to add these two together. So if I run this program, now you can see our result. X is 3, which is integer, correct? Y is 1.5, which is a float value. Now the sum of x and y is 4.5. Now it has automatically converted this guy into a float value. So we do not need any other thing to do. It automatically just help you to convert it based on the value between x and y. So this is what I call implicit. You really don't need to do anything extra. It does it automatically for you. Why the explicit comes in using manual conversions. So in this point, you have to use some constructors. One of the constructors you need to use is its float and str for strings. So you'll be wondering, what is it? So it's fine. This is what we're going to explain. We'll be explaining. Now we have int. So what int does is int helps you to actually convert. Let's say you have a value in float, for example. It helps you to convert that value from in float to integer, or maybe your integer value is actually in string format. What it does is it helps you to convert it from that string format into an integer value. So this is what I'm talking about. So let's assume x equals to string of 2. Now I'm going to print the type of x. Okay, the type of x. So So if I run this, x is actually a string. Now, I want to cast this string into another type of value, which is actually integer, because 2 should be an integer, not 2 of type string. So x, let me just say conv x equals to int, then I'm putting back my x into the constructor. So if I am going to print the type of conv x, don't forget I just made that up. Conv x is just another variable type that can be anything. So if I'm printing the type of conv x, now you can see x is actually 2 when I printed the type, but using this constructor, it has helped me to convert it into what they call integer. So if I'm printing it, it's going to give me type of integer. So initially we can see that from string that's actually been converted into what we know as our integer. So that is for int. So int will help you to convert. Now let's assume x is not, let's say we have x is 2.1. So this is a float value, basically. This is a float value. So you can see once I print it out, initially it gives me float. X is float, but now it's telling me x is an int because I'm using this constructor to actually convert it. Perfect. So let's try other ones. Now x is 2 and I want x to be in float. So this is type x, so I'm expecting x to be an integer, but now I want it to be of type float. So if I convert this, you can see x is actually an integer, but then using this print of type, it gives me, yeah, it's an integer. But when I convert this float value of x and I print it, it's giving me of type float. So now let's see, I'm going to print what x is now. So this is a converted x. So if I print this guy, you can see from 2, value of 2, it has converted it for me to value of 2.0. So automatically it adds 2.0 because float values are values that has decimal points. Decimal points. So what it does is it's converted it for me from the 2 to 2.0. You will also see some float values that are in exponential format. You can see something like so float values, you can see something like 2 exponential 3. You can see something like 89.73, let's say 3 exponential 2. So you can also see float values in this format, but still they are all float values basically. So I'm gonna comment this out. Now let's look at the last one. So the last one we are having is str. So let's see what str can do. Now str basically would help you to convert when you have something from like you have a number, let's say a number like 18. Now you want to convert the number into a string value. So that's where str comes in. So str will help you to convert it to string. So I'm just going to copy the same format, paste. I'm a very lazy programmer. Just copy and paste if you can. But for you, make sure you type so that the more you type, you get to know what these commands are for, and it will help you to get better. Yeah, it helps you to get better with what you're doing. So type of x should be an integer. This is float. I don't want to convert it to float. I want to convert it to string. So the str constructor helps us convert your values from integer to string. And I'm going to print the type and we run. So it looks like it's actually a number, but this is not a number. This is actually a string because x equals to here. So when you print the first type, it gives you, it is class int, which is an integer. After conversion, it gives you of type string, and which is cool. So with these constructors, you can convert your integer to float and your float to string. So let's look at a word problem. So for example, let's say this is my word. Word equals to I am something. So I want to tell you my age. I am dash. Now my age equals to 200. So how old are you? Yeah, I'm 200. So I just want to use that word I am 200. Now this is where you're going to be seeing the reason why you have to do some conversions. So this is a number, 200 is a number, word is actually a string. Now I want to concatenate them together. So I want to have it as a single word together. So if I'm going to do this, let's say concat equals to word plus age, then print concat. Now, when I run this program, it tells me, of course, it's going to give me an error. So you can only concatenate string to string, not integer to string, because it's saying this as an integer, and this is a string. So you cannot concat them together. If both of them are actually numbers, which is integers, what it's going to do is just going to add them up together and give you the result. But now this is a string, and this is also a number, so it doesn't know what it's going to do with both of them because they are not of the same data type. So what happens here is this is where conversion comes in. So what I can do now is I can say, before merging them together, I can say conv age equals to str then age. So at this point, it's going to convert the 200 into string. So what do I do? So instead of using age directly, I can just use the conv age, and I'll run this program. So you can see I am 200. So it now recognizes the 200 as not just a number, but as a string, which you can actually concat together. So in strings, when you have a string and you have another string, you cannot perform arithmetic operations on them. You can only concat them together. I am this, I am that. So that's what's happening here. So you see where it is very much advisable for you to do conversions of your data type from one type to another. So make sure you know that these constructors are what they use in converting them. So we have, to do a recap, we have the implicit type where you can actually just add one or two together and it obviously just converts it for you, basically. And we have the explicit, which you have to do manually by converting it using these constructors, the int, the float, and also the string. So most times casting should be done very, very carefully because you might get to avoid data loss or unexpected behavior. You need to actually be careful while using your casting. Mostly this explicit casting, because there's sometimes you might want to add two numbers together and maybe your answer is required to be in float. So you have 2.1 and 2.5. Now if you convert them before you actually add them together, you are going to be losing the value of 1.1 and 0.5, which could add to the amount of what you're supposed to get, basically. But then you need to be very, very, very much careful. But you don't just use them anyhow, you use them based on what you're actually required to do. So be careful of how you use the castings. So that's it about casting. Make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, and you click the notification bell icon. See you in my next video.